Kobe Bryant once said, "Everything negative, pressure, challenges are all an opportunity for me to rise." A lot of times when people face challenges or doubt, they decide to give up. But when Jordan Ta'amu had life push him down and tell him he was not good enough, like Kobe, he used it to rise to major success. Jordan Ta'amu Perfanos was born on December 10, 1997 in Oahu, Hawaii. Jordan Ta'amu attended Pearl City High School, a small school in Oahu, where he led his team to the state title game in both 2013 and 2014. Ta'amu threw for 1,779 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, as well as 392 rushing yards and 2 additional touchdowns. This resulted in Ta'amu being named to the All-State team and Division II Offensive Player of the Year. Coming out of high school, he only had partial D2 offers and 1 junior college offer. Ta'amu believed he had the talent to be a Division I quarterback and decided to go the junior college route. Jordan Ta'amu decided to commit to the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico. According to the New Mexico Military Institute website, they have a rich history and tradition of educating tomorrow's leaders through a program of strong, challenging academics, leadership preparation, and character development, and are also known as the West Point of the West. Ta'amu did not see a lot of playing time as a freshman, but would explode onto the scene his sophomore year. During the 2016 season, Ta'amu threw for 3,014 yards, 32 touchdowns, which ranked second nationally, 328 rushing yards, and an additional 7 rushing touchdowns. During his first game, he threw 8 touchdowns. Ta'amu would be named 2016 Southwest Junior College Football Conference Player of the Year. According to 24/7 Sports, Ta'amu was a 3-star recruit who was the 4th-ranked JUCO dual threat and 83rd overall JUCO prospect in a JUCO class that included names like Jarrett Stidham, Blake Barnett, DeAndre Johnson, Javon Kinlaw, Montez Sweat, Dakota Allen, Chauncey Rivers, Isaiah Wright, and Tim Bonner. According to 24/7 Sports, Ta'amu had offers from Ole Miss, Minnesota, New Mexico, Southern Miss, and Eastern Kentucky. During one recruiting trip, he was supposed to visit Ole Miss and Minnesota in the same weekend, but loved Oxford so much he canceled his visit to Minneapolis. Jordan Ta'amu would commit to Ole Miss on December 10, 2016, his birthday, proving to everyone that he had Division I talent, but Ta'amu was not done yet. Ta'amu came into the 2017 season behind former 5-star Elite 11 quarterback and 2016 recruiting class 4th overall player Shea Patterson. No one was talking about the former JUCO player until week 7 of the season when Patterson would tear his PCL against LSU. The crazy thing is, Patterson had taken over for former starter Chad Kelly, who was a former JUCO player and Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft, the previous year after he injured his knee. Ta'amu would go 7 for 11 and 78 yards in relief of Patterson. Ta'amu was stable, calm, and a leader for the team, all things that you could connect to his time at NMMI. Ta'amu finished the season throwing for 1,682 yards, 11 touchdowns, 165 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. Ta'amu would become the first quarterback in school history to throw back-to-back 350-yard games in SEC play. Ta'amu would do it in his first 3 starts, one of which was not an SEC game. Ta'amu led Ole Miss to an Egg Bowl win against 14th-ranked Mississippi State, where he threw for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ta'amu went 3-2 as a starter that season. All of a sudden, there were off-season rumors of a quarterback battle between the former 5-star quarterback and the guy who had no Division I offers coming out of high school. Shea Patterson would decide to transfer to Michigan and said he felt misled by Ole Miss during his recruitment. Finally, Ta'amu would get to lead a Division I team to victory, except Ole Miss would go 5-7 his senior year. Ole Miss dropped their last 5 games to finish the season, including 2 close losses to South Carolina and Vanderbilt, as well as a blowout loss to Mississippi State 35-3 in the Egg Bowl. Ta'amu would receive a lot of blame for the rough season, although he had one of the best statistical years ever for an Ole Miss quarterback. Ta'amu threw for 3,918 yards, completing 266 of his 418 attempts, adding 19 touchdowns with only 8 interceptions. Ta'amu added 342 yards on the ground and an additional 6 touchdowns. Ta'amu had 9 300-plus yard games, a school record, 7 350-yard games, and 3 400-plus yard games, another school record. Ta'amu broke the school record for yards per attempt with 9.37 yards, as well as finishing second all-time in passing yards in a season. He also led the SEC in passing yards per game, 326.5 yards, and total offense. Ole Miss also averaged 33.9 points per game, which ranked 30th in the nation. So why did Ole Miss struggle? Their defense allowed 36.2 points per game, which ranked 114th nationally. Jordan Ta'amu finished his career at Ole Miss, playing in 20 games where he threw for 5,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, completing 381 of his 591 attempts. Ta'amu also had 507 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns on 173 attempts. Ta'amu put up 40 touchdowns total in less than 2 years. Ta'amu holds the record for most 400-yard games in a career with 4, and tied Chad Kelly's record for 300-yard games in a career with 12. Ta'amu finished 6th all-time at Ole Miss in passing yards and 9th in touchdowns. Ta'amu graduated from Ole Miss with a degree in criminal justice with an emphasis in law enforcement. Ta'amu would be invited to the NFL Combine where he would run a 4.77 in the 40-yard dash, jump 10 feet 9 inches in the broad jump, a 7.06 in the 3-cone drill, 4.36 seconds in the 20-yard shuttle. He measured out to be 6'3" and 221 pounds with 9 7/8 inch hands. Ta'amu would be knocked for the idea that he could not outsmart defenses. Ta'amu was ranked as the 14th best quarterback in the draft and went undrafted in the 2019 NFL Draft. Ta'amu signed with the Houston Texans as an undrafted free agent in August, but was cut at the end of the month. Ta'amu then signed with the XFL, where he was allocated to the St. Louis Battlehawks. There were a lot of questions around Ta'amu and whether he would be able to perform well in the league, including myself. Ta'amu would use the doubt once again as motivation and would silence the non-believers. In week 1 of the season, Ta'amu would put the league on notice when he led the Battlehawks to an, at the time, upset win over the league favorite Dallas Renegades 15-9 in Dallas. Ta'amu threw for 209 yards and a touchdown, completing 20 of his 27 passes and rushing for 77 yards on 9 attempts. Ta'amu followed up his Week 1 performance with another top performance in a loss to the Houston Roughnecks, 28-24. Ta'amu threw for 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, and his only 2 interceptions of the season, completing 30 of his 37 passes and rushing for 32 yards and a touchdown on 8 attempts. In Week 3, Ta'amu and the Battlehawks beat the New York Guardians 29-9. Ta'amu had a quiet game, throwing for 119 yards, completing 12 of his 18 passes, and rushing for 14 yards on 3 attempts. Ta'amu would bounce back with a win over the Seattle Dragons 23-16, throwing for 264 yards and 1 touchdown, completing 20 of his 27 passes, as well as rushing for 63 yards on 16 attempts. Ta'amu would lose the last game of his XFL career to the DC Defenders 15-6, throwing for 174 yards, completing 15 of his 25 passes, and rushing for 63 yards on 16 attempts. Ta'amu would finish his career with the Battlehawks, going 3-2 as a starter, throwing for 1,050 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, completing 97 of his 134 passing attempts, which was a completion percentage of 72%. He also had 217 yards and a touchdown on the ground on 41 attempts. Ta'amu led the league in completion percentage, second in passer rating with a rating of 101.3, third in passing yards, and 7th in rushing yards. Ta'amu signed with the reigning Super Bowl champs Kansas City Chiefs on a 1-year deal after the XFL canceled their season due to COVID-19. Ta'amu was excited to learn from Patrick Mahomes. Ta'amu plans to put his degree to use after his playing career is done, hoping to become a police officer and one day an FBI agent. But he is only 22 years old and believes he has the talent to be an NFL quarterback. And we all know what happens when everyone doubts him and he believes in himself.